Welcome back. Welcome back. Talking a little Minnesota Phoenix Suns round one preview. We got to see this game right before the playoffs started, last game of the regular season. Phoenix took the dub. However, this series could go differently. 7 games, Minnesota the 3, Phoenix the 6. We're going to start off giving you some numbers for each side, what the advantages and disadvantages are for each team, key matchups and stuff to look out for, plus our game picks, updated odds for our picks. I am 3-0, Finn is 1-2, and Slim is 0-3 in playing picks. Just letting you guys know. But starting off, basically, this game is two totally flip side things. Minnesota with the league's best defense, Suns with a middle of the pack defense, but not really good. But when you look at the talent on the Suns, their offense should be way better than 10th. They just should be. And a lot of that has to do with their fourth quarter woes. By far and away, the worst fourth quarter team. And if you told me before the season you have 3 of the best ISO scorers in the league, and you're the worst fourth quarter team when the possessions get tight and you have the ball in your hands late in games and you can't execute, makes no sense to me. Makes 0 sense. So I'm a little concerned about that. And I also think it has to do with a lack of depth, which we're going to get into. But what are you guys' thoughts on this series? It's going to be a good one.
I mean, it's going to be about exploiting matchups. It's going to be a series 1 on the glass. And I can kind of see why the Suns can't execute. Like, when it comes down to it, a lot of the times those shots, all the guys are going to get the same looks, and it ends up coming down to confidence, whether you make it or not. And with 3 guys who can take and make the same shot, there's a lot of balls up in the air. When you know you're the guy, night in and night out, say it's just Book alone on the team. Are they worse? Yeah, but when you know you're the guy, you're mentally like, I'm the guy. Like, I got the rock. As much as they can all score it in that moment, it's now kind of like, all right, who's going to take it this time? Who's going to do it this time? Like, you want to have good processes in place for that kind of thing. So as much as on paper it wouldn't make sense, I can kind of see that making sense.
I think that Phoenix, KD, Book, Beal still may be able to exploit that, send those guys in a frenzy. And I think it may rely on Minnesota's offense and what Ant can produce and what Rudy can produce in slow-mo. And I think that all these guys definitely have what it takes for
To put a pin in what I was saying real quick, Matt, it's just you got to give it to the guy who's got it going. That's it.
Yeah, no, I think for that kind of thing to happen, you're right. It's who's ever the hot hand. They're all 3 so talented that you just have to be able to get it to them. And I feel like they've really struggled with that. But I think if you've watched any of our other previews for any other series or game, I've talked about rebounding. It's been every single video has been talking about rebounding. And it's weird because you would expect this to kind of be the opposite, but the Timberwolves are 21st in offensive rebounding, and the Suns are 20th in defensive rebounding. So that matchup, they're both pretty poor. So whoever can elevate themselves to that next level is going to be able to, for the T-Wolves case, get offensive rebounds and get second chance opportunities, which if that is happening, the Suns have no chance. I'm sorry, they just don't. And for the flip side, the Suns are fantastic, 9th in offensive rebound, and the T-Wolves are 21st or 9th in defensive rebound. So if the Suns can elevate their rebounding, which I don't see likely, especially because Rudy Gobert and Karl-Anthony Towns are out there, it's going to be a huge momentum shifter for this series. But the other thing is, with the Suns go small, are they able to get Rudy Gobert off the floor? Because as much as I shit on Rudy and all the other videos we talk T-Wolves, he needs to be on the floor for this Minnesota team to be at their best. He just does. And you can't be the defensive player of the year and get taken off the floor. You just can't. Late in games, you can't be off the floor. You have to be able to be in. And he's going to have to figure something out there. He just has to.
Totally. How can you, if he's on the floor, pull him out to the perimeter and expose him as much as possible, get him out of the paint? And how can you make, like, they're not really a team where someone specifically has to beat you, but how can you make every single Timberwolves player get involved? Like, you don't want one-man show. You want to keep everybody hot and moving.
Like, going to just kind of talk just a little bit about the game we saw right before the playoffs started, the last game of the regular season. We saw that the one offensive explosion in the first quarter the Suns had killed the T-Wolves. because their offense is not consistent enough to come back. They're 17th in offense for the year. They're slightly below average, around average. You just can't. I know their defense is spectacular and they'll hold a team to 15 and a quarter. They're that good. But when the Suns spread you out, that limits how good your defense can be because you have a guy like a Karl Anthony Towns or Rudy Gobert out on the perimeter. But if you can go and that offense is for the Suns is killing you and they drop a 45 or 40-point quarter and you only get like 22, you're done. I just don't see a way where the T-Wolves can really string together a huge comeback, especially with their starting five when Kat and Rudy Gobert are out on the floor together. Offensively, I think they should be able to dominate inside, but Rudy Gobert is not an offensive threat, really. He's just not.
The bigs got to eat.
They have to.
Fact. Including Nas Reed. I feel like you definitely got to, figure out a situation because even Nurkic, I would say, is a big threat to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Even when Rudy may be on the floor, I think Nurk is definitely going to battle it out. And what it may come down to is veteranship for the Minnesota Timberwolves, really being able to, show Ant that this is your time to shine. We saw you in the first round last year. Let's see you and see how you're able to adapt and perform against another team that's has the seasoned experience being deep into the playoffs, making it to the finals. So
what as good as Ant is though, like, and we speak very highly of him here, we're an Ant pro Ant pod. He's not a beat you by himself guy necessarily.
At all.
He may be in 2 or 3 years or 4 or 5 years, whatever from now, but right now, like, I don't see him beating them by himself. The T-Wolves play such a specific style they have to stick with, and if they kind of get knocked out of rhythm and get out of their way, I think the series could kind of slip away from them, even though I do think they're the better team.
Right.
Yeah, like all season long, we've looked at this Minnesota team. They're a top 3 team in the West. Like just as the season on a whole, they're probably a top 3 team in the West, maybe top 4, but like they're pretty damn close to that top tier. And it's a lot to do with their defense, but it's also that they have depth and they have the veterans, as Slim was talking about, to be able to withstand some of this stuff. Like Mike Conley has been as consistent comes this season.
Yeah, he's been great.
Slow-Mo has been pretty damn consistent. He had a rough game versus them for game 82, but like those are the two things too. Like the veterans for the T-Wolves have to be consistent. They can't have up and down fluttering games like a Jaden McDaniels could have, or an Ant or a Karl Anthony Towns could have, because they're younger and they just quite frankly haven't been in this situation. But the other thing for the flip side is you're hoping you're getting consistency from those guys. Are you going to be able to get like a really good Bradley Beal? Like he was awesome in that game for
He looked
game 80.
phenomenal in that last game.
Great. He was really, really good. But I've also seen games where he gives you 12 points, and that just simply cannot happen if you're the Suns. They're not deep enough for him to be mediocre. They're just not. And especially with how good this T-Wolves defense is just across the board, it's going to be a tough series for KD. It's going to be a tough series for Book. Bradley Beal's going to have to put the ball in the basket. He's going to have to be the third best player, clearly far and above.
I feel like they're going to play each other close. All the games are going to be close. I don't see either any team blowing them out. Whether the series goes long or not, it could be a sweep, but they're all going to be close games.
It could look like the Lakers Nuggets series from last year, where every game seemed like it was within like 10, 12 or like 10 the entire game, and then at the end they just kind of flutter up. But no, this is going to be a real good one. But let's get into our game picks. Who we got winning the series, how many games. I'll lead us off here. I got Minnesota in 7. I think this team is just too damn good to lose in the first round. And I know you look at the rosters and you got the big names on Phoenix. I just think that come playoff time, it's not really just about the names. It's about what you can do as a team. And I'm sorry, the Suns' fourth quarter really scares me to death. And we thought it would get better, but I'm going with this T-Wolves in 7.
I'm also going to take the T-Wolves, but I'm going to take them in 6. I just feel like, I mean, you put it exactly how I was planning on putting it. Like, as much as the playoffs can be a one-man show and guys can have signature games, like, they're such a good team the way they're built together that if they play the right way and they play how they played all year, they're going to limit those looks from KD. They're going to be physical with him. They're going to get Beal off balance. They're going to be physical with him, Mike.
No, I was looking like ahead to bet this game. KD's points line, guess what it's at?
31.
22.
23 and a half, 22 and a
Yeah.
half. It was like, but like, that's
They know
wild.
they're gonna be physical with him, bro. They're gonna
For
run him off the
KD,
spots.
That's
like
not
Jaden
doing
McDaniels.
nothing, bro. That's
Jaden
not.
McDaniels is gonna play some very good defense against KD. But who's your pick, Slim?
All
Merry
right.
Christmas.
Thank you. But I got Phoenix, maybe 7, 6 or 7, 6 or 7. I may lean 7, but I definitely see that, bro. For some cats, you get the rock in your hands and you just everything else just stops, nothing else, and you can't do nothing to stop that person from putting the ball in the basket. And I know that Phoenix has that, and that's like the secret weapon that I feel like we haven't seen for a minute. But specifically with these three guys in the arsenal that they have alone individually, when you got those three guys on the floor at the same time, I think that's something that we haven't seen before. And if they find a hole, they're gonna exploit it. They're gonna tear the defense apart. And I think that you can't really do much after that. That doesn't mean that Minnesota doesn't adjust. Like I said, I can see it going 7. I can see Minnesota winning, but I may just go Phoenix. I think I'm going Phoenix. Game 7.
That's fair. One last thing before we wrap this up. You know what I'm excited for? Bol versus Naz Reid. Just pumped for it. Just really pumped for it. Just as a basketball fan, it's like two of like the most lovable NBA players. Like no one hates either of these guys.
Nas got to have a big series.
He does, and he's also going back to what I said about the Suns being able to spread him out. When Rudy's off the floor, and you can have, I feel fine putting Naz Reid and Karl-Anthony Towns out there together because it just Naz Reid is a lot more mobile than Rudy Gobert is on the perimeter. So I would feel better about that. I still don't love it, but I think Naz Reid's going to have to play a crucial role in this series, whether defensively and offensively. I think he's just going to be super important because I could see if the Suns are going to win this series, it's going to be by getting Rudy Gobert off the floor. It's just how it's going to have to go. But any other final comments before we wrap this up?
Like, follow, comment, subscribe. Show your mom, show your auntie. We love you. We appreciate you. Shout out to the faithful. Switch rim, nigga.
But yeah, check out all the other previews. Every game preview that we know the series out besides the 1 seeds for each conference should be out at the time you're watching this. So go check those out. And we'll see you guys next time. Peace.